Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about Aliens Fireteam Elite. I don't know why they added the Elite to it. Aliens Fireteam is fine. But if you don't know what this game is, it's a lot like a game I recently reviewed, Back for Blood. Or if you don't prefer going with that, since it's technically a beta, you can talk about World War Z. And if you don't prefer that, you can use Left 4 Dead. Any of those wave survival zombie shooter type things, this is very similar to, so I'm going to be comparing to those games a lot throughout this review. So typically I'd go into the gameplay and what you do in this game, but unknown to me, pre-installing and playing the game, there's a character customizer. So let's talk about that. It's pretty basic, but for a game like this, it's nice. You know, while there are different classes and characters in both World War Z and Back 4 Blood, there's not so much a character customizer. You can pretty much make your person look however they want. Now, it's nothing crazy. You don't have like eyebrow sliders and all of that stuff. 10 faces, male and female, skin color, hair color, eye color, all that good stuff. But there's more visual customization, and we'll get to that when we're talking about progression. But let's get into the actual gameplay. So you load in, the first thing you're going to do is pick a class: Gunner, Demolisher, Technician, Medic. Now this game is 3 players, and I think that drastically hurts the Medic class. I think if it was 4 players, then, you know, the Medic would be useful. People would play the Medic, and they'd be forced to play the Medic, but no one's going to play the Medic unless you're playing on insanely high difficulties and you're super under-leveled, because on standard difficulty, it's not hard enough to where you need a Medic. So let's talk about the different classes and which ones I like and all that stuff. So Gunner has a higher rate of fire ability along with the grenade. That's fine, pretty boring and generic if you ask me. It comes with a rifle and a close quarters weapon. You can unlock different variants: pulse, automatic, different types of shotguns, grenade launchers, flamethrowers, all that stuff. And there's also visual customization for each class, but they're relatively, you know, not anything complicated. It's a badge on your armor and then which helmet you like. Demolisher is what I really like. It's a rifle along with a heavy that could be a flamethrower, rocket launcher, LMG. The starting LMG actually is a smart LMG, so it locks onto the targets, which is really fun. It has a missile launcher and a ground pound. The Technician, which is the next class, that's what I actually started out as, has a turret as well as some like shot grenades. It's okay, you know, it comes, I believe it's a shotgun and a pistol in that class, and again, you can unlock different weapons as you progress, but it's alright. And the doc, I didn't touch the Medic at all, to be honest, but it's not balanced in the slightest, and that's the biggest problem. The Demolisher is by far the best class, right? Technician, the turret's fine for those parts where you have to defend. Like, same thing with like the lightning coils, they're fine for when you have to defend. But other than that, the close quarter combat weapons are okay. You know, you can switch out an SMG for that shotgun. The pistols are alright. The Gunner, that rate of fire is really good. And then your grenade, it's just a grenade. But as the Demolisher, you really have no negative. It's not like you have a movement speed, you know, stat that's being affected or something like that. You have an assault rifle, which is 60 rounds, which you can mow down an absurd amount of enemies with, and an LMG, which is like 100 rounds, and it locks onto the enemies. So those are both really good primaries, and you have an ability that is a rocket launcher, so that'll take out a whole room full of enemies, along with the ground pound, which gets enemies off of you. So I think that's the most OP class, but obviously any class can be OP as you progress it and unlock new abilities and perks and get new weapons for that class. Now, while we're talking about classes and all of that, weapons, all that stuff, let's talk about progression while we're there. So when you do a mission, you unlock some currency. I don't know exactly what it's called. You get an attachment or two depending on how you do, what hidden caches you find, and then class XP, which allows you to equip more perks. Now, this works great for the most part. It works better than Back 4 Blood, because in Back 4 Blood, the progression I don't give a fuck about. It's just cards, and nobody cares about cards. Alright, unless you're a Madden kid, nobody cares. Alright, here, it's much like World War Z. You have your class, you can unlock different abilities for that class and upgrades, you can get different weapons, you can get different visual customization, different bodies and headgears, emotes, skins, all of that stuff. The problem with the progression is also a pacing problem or just a content problem. So this is where the video is going to get quite complicated. So if you've ever played these types of games, I'm going to use World War Z because it works almost exactly, it's a carbon copy, right? So you have locations. For example, in World War Z, I think it's New York, Moscow, Tokyo, and somewhere else, right? 4 locations, and you have 3 or 4 levels within those locations. Here, it works the same exact way. 4 locations, 3 levels in each location. Then a horde mode, once you finish all of that, it works identical. Now, the problem with these types of games isn't the number of levels. There could be 100 levels, there could be 2 levels. It's what you're doing in the levels. Because if you're not mentally prepared for the type of game this is, you're gonna be bored. What you see, the gameplay that I'm showing you right now, is what you do for the entirety of a game. You run and shoot some aliens from point A to point B, you defend point B, and then run shoot some aliens from B to C, defend point C, the mission's over. That is every single mission, just the location changes and the difficulty of the enemies change and your loadout changes. That's essentially the entire game. Now, I went through all of Act 1 in about an hour. So at that speed, I pretty much did Act 2 at the same speed. Again, it depends on if you go back and do missions with friends. That'll increase your stats and your combat rating, making levels easier. So you can probably speed through the campaign in about 4 hours and then mess with horde mode. Now, the problem with this is the currency system. So I had to play through Act 1. I've played through it 3 times now. I had to play through Act 1 twice completely and doing 2 daily challenges to buy 1 gun. That's a problem because if I wasn't doing daily challenges and hadn't repeated an act, I would have beaten over half the game before I would have been able to buy a single gun. Now, the problem with this is that it relies heavily on either the player going back and replaying levels or the horde mode, right? So the progression isn't really there. If you were unlocking a new gun every single mission, that would be one thing. But essentially at the speed it's going, depending on how much you spread out playing, it's going to depend on how many daily missions you do and how much currency you get and all that stuff. But the speed I was going, I would have unlocked 2 guns within my time in the campaign. Now, there's not just guns to unlock. Like I said, there's emotes, which I'm obviously not going to unlock because I'm not a fool. But gun skins, different attachments, different weapons, all of that stuff. And there's actually some really cool stuff. There's good launchers, there's flamethrowers, there's some scopes, muzzle brakes, all of that stuff. So there is a large amount of progression along with the perk and skill tree, which is really interesting. I'm not going to talk about it much. It's your standard perk and skill tree, except the way they implement slotting the perks is a bit weird. You have a grid, and this perk's a 3x3, this perk's a 1x3, and you have to fit it within a certain grid. As you level up, you unlock more slots on your grid and can equip more perks. It's essentially how it works. And so, that's pretty much the gameplay loop. Like you see here, run to point, defend a point, go to next point, defend a point, end of mission, gets increase difficulty each new mission, then you spend your currency and you unlock attachments, weapons, skins, all of that stuff, you do it again. Now, without horde mode, this game, depending on the difficulty, I'm going to say is 4 to 6 hours. Now, that's a problem, right? The amount of content that's here isn't a lot, and that's always a problem with this game. World War Z is the same exact way. It's very short. I don't think it's this short, but it's very short. They didn't even have their horde mode at launch, at least this does, and the only thing that makes this game interesting is because it's aliens, right? You've played 1,000 wave survival zombie shooters, right? Literally, this is just that reskinned, and that's the only thing that keeps it interesting, in my opinion. So, the final thing I want to consider, this isn't going to be a long review because it isn't a long game, there's not much to talk about. The final thing that I want to talk about is the price point and the amount of time you'll have played and the price to content ratio. So currently, for the standard edition, the game is $40. Now this is the first time in a while I've not had a game on Game Pass that I've reviewed. Alright, so I actually I paid $40 for this. Now, here's my problem with that. If I wasn't reviewing this, I would have never paid $40 for this game. I knew beforehand this was what it was going to be. This is exactly what I expected, so I wasn't really disappointed in any way, but $40 if I wasn't making content on it is a lot of money for what's here, right? Like I said, if I wasn't making this video, I would have played the game for 4 hours and never played it again. But that's just me. I know there's people like with Left 4 Dead and Back 4 Blood and World War Z who will literally play this game 1,000 times on every single difficulty, play Horde mode all day like it's their favorite game ever, max level each class. If that's your thing, there's probably 30 some hours here, right? But for me, it's your typical wave shooter. It's the gunplay is fine, the sound's average, graphically it looks okay, and I'm playing on a Series X. I believe it is Series X enhanced. The enemy variety, that's one thing that I do want to talk about. A lot of these wave shooters do the same exact thing, right? And like I said, how it's generic, like every other wave zombie shooter, you have the fast, weak enemies, the spitters, the suiciders, the pouncers, and then just the heavy tank boss enemies. So there's really nothing unique there. It's like every other zombie game. If you like Back 4 Blood, World War Z, Left 4 Dead, then you'll like this. If you just think those games are fine and you played through once and never touched them again, you'll do the same thing here. So, that being said, what do I give this game out of 10? Well, I'm debating between a 5 and a 6, right? Because it's obnoxiously average, right? It doesn't do anything new. It's just a reskin of what we've seen 1,000 times. That being said, the reskin keeps it interesting, right? You can shoot a gun 1,000 times, but if the gun's blue now, that's going to entertain you for about 10 more hours. And that's how this game is, I think. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to be your favorite game, but looking for something to play, and you wait till it's on sale. Don't pay $40 for this. But that's what I think. If you guys absolutely love it, let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys on the next one.